when you talk about the basics of basketball, Coach Merriweather and Coach Collen go rebounding wins championships.
I thought it was interesting as well, AB. Both coaches also spoke about how they feel like they lost their identity at different points this season. Cincinnati is a dribble drive team that can make shots. Baylor lost that defensive edge at one point in the conference schedule. Cincinnati earns a trip to the line. No, an offensive foul. Hayes barrels over the defender. Blackwell takes the charge. And there is that defense for Baylor. That is what they hang their hat on. And they have adjusted this starting lineup, baby, to really get some more defense. Nicki Collen said she changed the lineup up and went with more of the defensive, analytically favored group. That's right. Sarah Andrews being one of 3 players to be consistent starters during this lineup shakeup for the Bears. Here is Andrews. She lobs it down low. Little Paige Buggs kicks it out. And Walker nails the 3 for the first scoring of the game. Jada Walker with only her 4th three-pointer in Big 12 play. Speaking of ever-changing lineup, Cincinnati has not had a consistent starting lineup all season long, but for the past 5 or 6 games, this has been the go-to starting 5. Yeah, Cincinnati, similar to Baylor, has shaken things up with their rotations. Really hot at times and has been a consistent starter the last couple of games. Look at that inbound by Ariel Jackson off the back of the defender, but can't bank it in. Ariel Jackson has phenomenal basketball instincts. Sarah Andrews from the corner drills the 3, and Baylor 2 of 2 from long range to start. On that defensive assignment, Bearcats must make sure they get body on Baylor and not allow easy deep catches. Nicki Collen, her 3rd season at Baylor. She has won 20 or more games each of the first 3 years, another 20-win season this year. Former WNBA coach with Atlanta. Done a really good job. 24 years in a row now, Baylor has won 20 or more games. Second try is good for Jillian Hayes to get Cincinnati on the board. Well, Cincinnati finding its way to get rim red zone shots against this Baylor defense. Too strong there for Fauntleroy. This is how Cincinnati likes to play. Downhill on the push is the freshman Reagan Jackson, but unfortunately called for that travel. Coach Merriweather still encouraging the freshman to stick with it. Well, her freshman Reagan Jackson has been fantastic. Called for the travel there, but a player that hails from Texas and averaging more than 11 points per game against teams from the Lone Star State. So Reagan Jackson could be in for a good one today. Excellent baseline drive. Fauntleroy lays it in. I like how Bella Fauntleroy did not settle that possession for another jump shot. Kick out to Jackson. Thomas has the offensive rebound, and there is the rebounding for Cincinnati. I love the footwork and the poise of Destiny Thomas. We talked about Cincinnati being #1 in the Big 12 in offensive rebounds per game at 14, and Destiny Thomas is a big reason why. Thomas, the transfer from Memphis, followed Katrina Merriweather from Memphis. Merriweather's first year in Cincinnati. Short corner jumper is good. There is Little Paige Buggs. They also have 6 losses in the Big 12. And with that Big 12 play, you talked about the shifting of the lineups that Coach Collen has had to shake up. Part of that is just testing the waters, putting your foot on the gas, seeing how much they can push the envelope heading into tournament and postseason. Or Cincinnati pushing the court, trying to go for that home run. Reagan Jackson hits the underside of the backboard, a little too much muscle. Good pass. Edwards the cut to the rim. Van Gytenbeek the find. Great pass by Van Gytenbeek to find Edwards for the finish. We saw some of that fancy passing there at the end of the West Virginia win. Malaya Williams hits the 3, and they needed that. Breaks a 6-0 scoring run for Baylor. Edwards on the drive, and a 3-second violation called against Blackwell inside. And that's what Katrina Merriweather told us. This is a Cincinnati team that is a drive first, but can make a shot. So they started going inside, now they go outside and right back in for Williams, and a chance for the old-fashioned three-point play. Takes her time, works the defender beneath, and it seems at the end of the play there, Anthony, she might have caught some knee-to-knee. She came out of there with a little limp. Well enough to stay in and shoot the free throw. She can't hit it. And Little Paige Buggs has the rebound. Well, Cincinnati a few points in a row now. Walker rims out. Little Page bugs, taps it out of bounds. Back to Cincinnati. Inbound to Jackson, and Walker provides a little bit of pressure in the backcourt. Jada Walker, one of the best in the conference in steals, doesn't get that one, and Jackson can't put it in.
That was a nice rebound on the court by Bartley.
Van Gytenbeek flings it out. There is Bartley. Good show by Edwards, and she goes the other way.
Oh, Edwards, and then after the play, a little bit too little. She feels the nice move with the fake pivot.
High off the window for Jackson, doesn't go down. Edwards the rebound into the hands of Van Gytenbeek. Here's Yaya Felder and one.
Yaya Felder immediately seeing the gap and attacking the rim. And instead of avoiding Malaya Williams, the defender, she goes right into her body. And Malaya Williams, who feels that she's going straight vertical,
really filled it up in the MAC. Her career high 40 points against Central Michigan. And last year led the MAC in points scored. More than 20 a game. Jenks the good save on the sideline after the missed free throw. Reagan Jackson gets fouled. Now, Reagan Jackson has really been a star freshman in this conference. There's a lot of really good ones, but a new career high 4 3-pointers made in that game for Jackson.
And Reagan Jackson, the Texas native, a top achiever at heart.
Trina Merriweather said anytime she gets a whiff of that Texas air, whether it be from the opponent coming into Cincinnati or whenever she goes down to Texas, always plays with a little bit of extra pep in her step.
Okay, so now against Baylor, does she bring that same energy and vibe when Texas came to Ohio?
Now there's Felder again. And that is the final shot of the first quarter. And already halfway there after one quarter.
6 points right now in the first quarter, and so effective across the board. 3 for 4 from the field, 1 offensive rebound, 1 defensive rebound, but more importantly, she had the defensive assignment on Jillian Hayes when Jillian Hayes went down with 2 fouls.
Now Jana Van Gytenbeek playing with a ton of confidence right now, knocks down that 3, and Baylor leads it by 13.
Jana Van Gyten, she's all over the court right now for Baylor.
That pass tipped away. Walker with the pilfer, taking it coast to coast. Everything but the finish, but there's Edwards with the rebound. Williams the block from behind.
Blocking shots is Cincinnati's known factor. That's part of their identity.
Thomas had a good stick back earlier, trying to work down low on Bartley. And good defense from Madison Bartley, coming over from Belmont in the offseason.
The defense inside by Baylor. A lot of people talk about the length of Cincinnati, and there were some question marks coming into the game about Baylor's ability to defend that inside.
In terms of moving the basketball, Cincinnati very low in assists, Baylor very high in assists. That one overshoots Blackwell. Reagan Jackson, a little bit short, may have gotten fouled, no whistle.
And Baylor right back in transition. 1 on 3. But Jada Walker is not deterred. She knows her strength and ability to score over 3 defenders. Transfer
from Kentucky came in with high expectations. Tapped as the newcomer of the year in the Big 12. Pokes that one away. And Fauntleroy gets tripped. Playing really well right now in Cincinnati. The Bearcats just called a timeout. Fauntleroy the kick. Andrews the 3 off the mark. There is another offensive rebound and another block for Williams.
Well, another rebound for Dre Edwards, her 3rd offensive rebound.
Bartley trying to play defense on Hayes. Good pass to Williams. And off the mark. Bartley playing some really good minutes here, grabbing that rebound for the Bears.
And Baylor really pushing the court, although the pace was methodical by the ball, running and sprinting down in transition is the Baylor offense.
Andrews, the floater, gets it to go.
Well, Andrews She's so consistent and right at the rim, now with 5 points on the game.
You mentioned Andrews being a top 10 finalist for the Nancy Lieberman Award, and we mentioned it earlier, dealing with foot issues, not really at her 100% self, and still a top 10 finalist for one of the most prestigious awards. But for Cincinnati, it's inconsistent in terms of from one game to the next, you never really know what's going to show up on any given day.
That's right. And for Coach Collen to be in her 3rd year with Baylor Bears, she's had time to build that consistency, particularly when you look around, being built around the youth of this Cincinnati squad. Freshman Reagan Jackson at point guard and sophomore Ariel Jackson at the 2.
2 of 2 at the line for Jillian Hayes. Cincinnati gets to the line a ton. Finally, after 5.5 minutes, the Bearcats on the board in the second quarter. Good pass to Edwards. What a find from Blackwell.
Beautiful basketball off of the elevator, finding Edwards on the roll, and then Edwards, the nice pitch pass to Blackwell.
That is the second or third really pocket pass that Baylor has had, and a block by Fauntleroy.
Now this is Baylor Bears defense. Lost her footing, stays with the play. Great hustle, keeps space in her body, and just trusts the length of using what her mama gave her, those long arms for the block.
I was talking to the Baylor radio crew before the game, and we were talking about how Baylor, compared to some other teams, not the biggest in the Big 12, but you're going to be surprised how long Fauntleroy is, and that just carved out for Andrews there to lay it in easily. And a strip, Van Gytenbeek. It is all Bears right now.
Well, Baylor playing with such confidence and poise and just clean, precise basketball on the transition.
The lead is 21 for Baylor. Fall-away jumper, Ariel Jackson can't knock it in.
And here again, Edwards with her head up, always looking downhill.
The Bears are on a 6-0 run. They've made their last 4 shots overall.
So inside, you saw this call coming. Earlier in the possession, there was a little bit of jawing going back and forth between Malaya Williams and Dre Edwards inside. Even to the point where Dre Edwards turned around and had a word with the official during live action. And now, during the dead ball, another word, one word too many.
So Edwards does get hit with that tech, and not really what you want to see there from Baylor, right? You have a 21-point lead. You don't need that. You don't need Cincinnati getting any life and wind in their sails. They get 2 free throws in the basketball here with that technical foul.
Well, there's 2 ways to look at this. On the other hand, Dre Edwards feels the need to set a tone and establish her presence inside and what she will and will not tolerate offensively.
I guess if you're going to get a technical foul, get it with a 21-point lead. The 2 free throws don't hurt you that much, right?
That's right. There's a whole level of competitive integrity to the game where pride in many ways does put points on the board.
So the tech on Edwards, 2 free throws for Reagan Jackson. All 4 of Cincinnati's points until that point had come from the line. Ariel Jackson puts in the floater.
Well, speaking of competitive integrity, that's another player with Ariel Jackson. She has such pride in her game and her ability to score.
Vasconcelos, the big 6'7" freshman, lays it in.
A phenomenal finish. The post players, from Baylor, and of course the historian, the legend, the continued legend in making, paving the way for so much of the game that we see today, Brittany Griner.
3rd time's a charm for Cincinnati. Destiny Thomas out of the hands of Blackwell. Cincinnati, after being down by 21, has gotten it back within 17 again. Pull up for Reagan Jackson.
Well, the Texas native, another one who's competitive. She works and she fights.
6 points for Jackson, and Fauntleroy adds to her total. A 3.
Bella Fauntleroy now 1 for 4 from the 3 for 5 points.
35 seconds left in the half. Cincinnati back down by 18. Baseline drive. Milton throws it away. Van Gytenbeek leads the break. And they're going to pull it out. 20 seconds to go in the quarter. Hold for the final shot.
So Van Gytenbeek always keeping her head up and seeing the court, and most importantly, seeing the clock.
Van Gytenbeek won a national championship at Stanford, but really finding her own this season. Her breakout year. To the corner, Blackwell. And an over-the-back foul called on Vasconcelos.
Coach Pirtle fashion. Corner shots, rebound on the weak side of the basket.
Ariel Jackson hits the front of the rim. So you're going to see a lot more ranked teams in the Big 12, so that's something to build on for Cincinnati. You've got to find a way to knock off the premier teams in your conference.
That's right, and Cincinnati's off to a good start with that, with big non-conference wins over in-state rival Toledo, Kentucky from the SEC. Those set the tone for nice wins down the road.
A lot to build on for Cincinnati. Certainly some obstacles this year, but a lot to build on, and they got a obstacle in front of them here with an 18-point deficit going into the second half against Baylor. Walker, the one-handed skip off the rim, 6 to shoot, and Williams deflects it out of bounds. 4.2 on the shot clock.
She always comes out of timeouts having drawn up some sort of ATO action.
Malaya Williams has gotten her hands on a couple of balls to start this second half. 3.9 to shoot after the most recent deflection. Andrews, the long three, doesn't go. Rebound to Jenks.
That was a good look by Andrews. She's capable of hitting those shots with a hand in her face.
The spin off the glass by Jackson doesn't go down, but she gets fouled. Ariel Jackson in conference play has really ramped up, and especially recently in the second half of Big 12 play. Over the last 9, 12 points, nearly 3 assists per game.
And speaking of family in the house for Ariel Jackson, her mother, WNBA superstar Kim Hampton, is in Cincinnati today, visiting all the way from Portland, Oregon.
She came over and said hello at halftime. Hayes gets cut and going to the line.
And to see her do what she does best, these free throws.
Cincinnati gets to the line a ton as a team. Jillian Hayes right up there among the leaders.
This is part of that Bearcat identity. Over the course of this game, Cincinnati has more free throws than Baylor, and that's one of their pillars.
Fauntleroy, nothing but net, and she drills another three, her second of the day.
Well, Bella Fauntleroy, one of those three-point shooters and one of those consistent presence on the court for Coach Collen.
Nearly 40% from three for the sophomore for the Bears. Jenks on the drive.
Keziah Jenks, she needs to continue to drive to the basket. Cincinnati finding ways to close this almost 20-point gap.
42-25, Baylor still in front. Andrews, good split all the way to the cup.
Great move. I like how quick she is off of that ball screen.
Not there for Jenks.
Baylor sets these early ball screens in the play. The amount of possessions that Baylor's had now underneath the basket, and Cincinnati just losing defensive assignments, not communicating on ball screens.
Jackson trying to get to the baseline, and a bump. No, she's out of bounds. Stepped on the end line, so a turnover. Another one for Cincinnati, the 11th of the contest. 10 seconds left to shoot. Almost thrown away by Little Paige Buggs. Lob to the corner. Fauntleroy, the high arcing three, has another one. So many glowing reviews about this sophomore.
And on top of all that, Aditi Tura, as they say, she leads the team in charges.
Yeah.
Always hustling and doing those little things.
Brianna Byers from the mid-range gets in the scoring column for Cincinnati. Baylor has a wall of pictures taken from every charge they take. And it almost gets a little bit embarrassing, it sounds like, for Fauntleroy.
Cincinnati has 8 O boards and Baylor has 7.
And overall, Baylor is +6 on the glass today. Little Paige Buggs makes the first free throw. And a player that Nicki Collen said doesn't do anything great, but just a high motor, does everything really, really well, and gets another offensive rebound there.
Well, with her 5th rebound of the game, we talked about she is named a team captain as only a sophomore.
Lead continues to grow for the Baylor Bears, now 23, the largest in the game. Nia Clark is in for Cincinnati, providing some of that veteran leadership, trying to right the ship here. Wild shot for Byers, good defense again from Fauntleroy. Good pass, Van Gytenbeek the lay-in.
Beautiful basketball. The nice bounce pass. The point guards of Baylor have always got their eyes up.
That almost went in for Williams off the top of the backboard. And then Thomas stripped. Baylor a chance to show off again. Thomas, though, is stripped. Van Gytenbeek. They are hot.
Van Gytenbeek giving the nod. You love.
Cincinnati had kept the bench pretty short through 2.5 quarters, but now just searching for answers. Clark has been
with the strong defensive assignment, and earlier in the game, remember, she received a technical foul after some jawing, and so now Jillian Hayes just the beneficiary of another inside foul.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, this is the first time we've seen Edwards since that tech in the first half. Maybe a message from Nicki Collen on that Baylor sideline. Well, Cincinnati now, with Baylor over the limit, will be shooting free throws for the final 2.5 minutes. Perhaps that is an avenue to get back in this game. Good denial by Van Gytenbeek. No-look pass. Edwards.
The assists by Baylor are so impressive, but specifically Van Gytenbeek.
Jackson, good runner off the window.
Ariel Jackson, again, for Cincinnati. Been quiet overall in the game, but right now is scoring 4 points in the second half.
Strong drive. Yaya Felder gets clipped. You mentioned the 5 points for Felder. Pretty much everybody for Baylor has scored today. Danae Fritz has only played 1 minute. She didn't score. And Bartley played 7 minutes in that first half. Played really good defense but didn't score. But everybody else that has been on the floor has scored today for Baylor. And it just goes to show that scoring diversity. Like Katrina Merriweather said, the hardest part about scouting Baylor is never knowing who is going to beat you. And today it hasn't been one player for the Baylor Bears.
Well, Coach Collins said one of the team mottos is sometimes me, sometimes you, sometimes me, but always us. They do everything together.
Having multiple players in double figures. Only one in double figures today. That's Fauntleroy. Down low, Edwards can't bank it in. Second try is good.
Edwards, she's so tough. Baylor staying in their zone. Cincinnati just not shooting it well from outside. Only 1 for 9 from the 3 until right on cue. Ariel Jackson comes and finishes.
Van Gytenbeek with the left over Hayes.
As impressive as Van Gytenbeek is of a passer, how impressive was that finish with her left outside and high on that glass?
So now she has 10 points. Not that time for Jackson, but Reagan Jackson corrals the rebound. Ariel Jackson, the split, doesn't go down.
Those are good shots for Cincinnati. Get to the basket. Right now, it's all or nothing, foot on the gas.
30 seconds to go here in the third. Baylor has been +8, 20-12, outscoring Cincinnati in this third quarter.
Baylor has a nice ball screen package.
And Van Gytenbeek rattles in the three.
And right on cue, the high ball screen. Cincinnati goes under the screen. Van Gytenbeek reads it so well, but smart move by Collen to set it deep.
How about the Baylor Bears?
Big 12 tournament.
You ever been to Kansas City?
I have not.
Neither have I. It'll be a first time.
Hit the road trip.
Shot clock resets to 20. Jackson again. This one finally goes down. 8 points in the game for Reagan Jackson.
The consistency, the fortitude that Reagan Jackson plays with. When you talk about potential honorees for all Big 12 team, Reagan Jackson's name is definitely in that mix.
Too strong for Edwards. Little Page Bugs had it for a moment. And Milton away with the loose ball.
Cincinnati playing with some confidence coming out to start this fourth quarter. Braylon Milton just trying to figure out what is her best fit on the team. Started the season as a starter and then now has moved and adapted her role.
One of those players that every now and then has a huge scoring game. Had 15 a couple of games ago against TCU. Just excellent passing from Baylor. Blackwell on the block lays it in.
Well, Little Page Bug has had her head up high, and Cincinnati losing assignments at the rim.
Good turnaround by Thomas.
Destiny Thomas now with 6 points on a 100% 3 of 3 shooting inside.
These passes are just so crisp for Baylor. Blackwell leaves it a little bit short.
Well, what Baylor has is good spacing on the court.
Jackson with the left.
Ariel Jackson, she never ceases to amaze me with her ability to finish tough shots.
Jackson now has 9 points. Belafonte, Cincinnati trying to get some steals and chip back into this, but Baylor is beating them down the floor. Jackson back inside. The defense from Blackwell.
The Baylor defense, not only the post players on assignment, but then offensively, heads up, little ball screen, and the slip.
Down low to Hayes, and banks it in.
Really set a tone for Cincinnati last season, averaging 11 points per game.
Do you remember your final home game and the emotions that came with that?
I do. My family came down from Akron, Ohio to enjoy the game. And, of course, my cousin, John Tay, was in the house, and I had never played in front of her before, so I thought I would ball out. Shot a lot of threes early, and Coach Pirtle toned that down. And, ironically, it was Coach Merriweather who came in to have the big game to win senior night for us in that senior class.
Still so many potential options for Cincinnati. Baylor going to the NCAA tournament. Cincinnati still potentially in line for a postseason berth. We'll see how all that shakes up. Trying to guard the star of the show for Baylor today, Van Gytenbeek, who just continues to pile it on.
Cincinnati continuing to be consistent, going under Van Gytenbeek on ball screens.
Hayes puts one in. William Hayes into double figures. 11 points has not been Cincinnati's day. Jenks gets pushed. Oh, the Bears over the limit. Free throws the rest of the contest for Cincinnati.
Although the Bearcats may not finish the season with a win at home, which of course is always on the top of Coach Merriweather's mind, there is a lot that they have to be proud of with how they progressed through the course of this season, finishing through
Van Gytenbeek, second try. That one goes. 19 for Jana Van Gytenbeek. Yeah, Katrina Merriweather told us, obviously not the season that anybody would hope for. A loss today in Cincinnati would be guaranteed to finish below 500. When you look at this team and the Big 12 tournament looming, how do you think they stack up as potentially a 4, 5, 6 seed?
Baylor is playing so well and smooth right now. And then you add to that the acumen with which they run specific strategic plays and pick apart defensive strategies. That's a special team.
Well, Baylor is going to win this one. Malaya Williams just hit that 3, but Baylor will improve to 22-6, 11-6 in the Big 12. They'll get Van Gytenbeek on that foul, preventing the fast break for Jackson. Entering today, if the season had ended, these two teams would be in line to meet in the second round if Cincinnati were to advance after the first round. Of course, with the Baylor win and the Cincinnati loss, more shakeups coming in the Big 12 seeding. And still with a game to go. 5 seconds left. Williams the runner. Hayes the follow, and a foul with .8. You look up and down the box score. Obviously, the assists for Baylor are going to stand out. The rebounds for Baylor will stand out. But Cincinnati just didn't make enough shots today. A lot of players, Hayes included, 3 of 12 from the floor. Ariel Jackson, 4 of 16. A lot of 1 for 7s, 1 for 8s. Just a tough night. Give credit to the Baylor defense. The Bears, big winners in Cincinnati. They've won 4 in a row.